Hello, it's me, Loki ASMR. I am here once again on a magical journey called reactions. We're going to be reacting to the new Loki series that has come out that apparently is very good. Don't worry, I will finish Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I just kind of wanted to get this out because they just put a new episode out. So don't worry, I'm finishing it. It's just, gosh. These reaction videos take quite a lot of time to edit. They're probably the thing I actually have to edit the most, I'd say. It takes me I think the longest it ever took me was 4 hours, was one of them. From recording to editing and releasing. It was a while, but anywho, I like reacting to stuff, so. We're going to be reacting to episode 1 of Loki, which, I was extremely excited because they set this series back up way back in the Avengers Endgame. Spoiler alert, it's been 2 years now. Where basically, during the time heist in New York, Tony loses the Tesseract because Loki, grabs the thing after Hulk knocks, the thing out of the box, and he grabs it and disappears. But that was always a thread that they were going to follow up on. We just never really, got to it yet. Until now, which they finally are doing that, it's a very mysterious, weird series, because it's essentially sort of like what it seems like from the synopsis is basically Loki causes, when he grabs the, hold on, I didn't hear my voice. That's better. Basically, when Loki steals the Tesseract, he causes this entirely different timeline to come up, which screws everything up. So, Owen Wilson, Mobius from the TVA, basically comes in and captures Loki and is like, hey dude, what you did was not great, and it's screwing everything up. Because, for those who don't know, I'm a huge Marvel comics. I'm just a huge nerd, so I know everything Marvel. But basically, the TVA stands for the Time Variance Authority. They're basically like a bunch of time cops. That's like, if anything in the timeline starts screwing up, they're like, okay, we'll send Owen Wilson down there to say wow and fix this. So basically, they captured Loki, and it's like, you have to help us fix everything, because you screwed stuff up bad. I mean, real bad. So that's kind of the synopsis of the story. Loki, who is, at this point, this is still Loki from the Avengers. He didn't go on the whole, arc of him, not being a piece of crap and whatnot, and basically being a good guy in Thor Ragnarok and whatnot. He hasn't gone through that yet. So this is still the same old, conniving Loki. So I'm excited. They got the whole episode here on Disney Plus. We're going to react to it. So, stay tuned. I will be doing this series, over the next couple weeks. I hope you all like it. So, let's get to it! Woo! Here we go. Oh! New York City, baby! 2012. Okay, so this is... Oh my gosh! They brought Chris Evans back! Holy... This is already amazing. Hydra! Ant-Man. So it looks like they're using some of the footage from Endgame and some new footage too. I like how, I just realized this, that Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man, basically when they're doing the time heist, super important universe-saving thing. He's like, I'm gonna get a slice of pizza in the alleyway if you want. Marvel logo! Okay, so this is interesting. Music's different. I'm liking this. This is awesome, I'm not gonna lie. I love the green tint. That's a sexy logo right there. Beautiful. All right, here we go. Okay, that is very Iron Man 1-esque when he, flies in the air for the first time and his suit breaks apart and he's Whoa! So right off the bat. That's gonna be a meme. That's gonna be a meme. Whoa. Whoa! Oh my god, that is so messed up. So she hit him with that weird stick thing, and it slows him down, but he can still feel all the pain from... That is messed up, actually. Ah! It's Portal! That is amazing. I am already in love with this series. I feel like that one guy is probably some kind of Easter egg. He said his father was at Goldman Sachs. I love it. I love how that guy has no idea he's holding one of the Infinity Stones. Ah! Whoa. Dude, you know the fandom right now. There are a bunch of women out there just like, ah! Just screaming their heads off like, good God, that man. He got jacked for this. If I could have 1 ounce of what that guy looked like by the end of this summer, I'll be happy. I need to get on one of those Marvel diet workout things. I can already tell there's going to be like on YouTube, there are going to be a bunch of compilations like Loki being confused and lost for 5 minutes. Dude, Tom Holland. Tom Hiddleston is having so much fun in this, I can tell. I don't know who that is, but I've heard her voice from somewhere. Is that Tara Strong? I think that's Tara Strong. She does Harley Quinn. Here we go, baby! Oh my gosh, this is amazing so far. I would say next to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, this is the show I was wanting to see the most. Is that like Mephisto or the devil in the background? I feel that's an obvious reference to something. Okay, so yeah, this wasn't Loki who committed these. It was the devil, I guess. I mean, famously, the most well-known devil in Marvel is Mephisto. But, so basically, there's some independent murderer, independent of Loki, 6 times this week. Her reaction is hilarious. I love how she's just giggling in the background. Partner. Whoa! Dude, look at that place. That looks crazy. It's like if Coruscant was in the 70s. Wow, that is incredible. I understood that callback. That's a callback to Thor 1, where it's like magic and, you know, where you come from, you call it science, we call it, or you call it magic, we call it science. I think that's how it went. I love that call. Whoa. That is far. I love that callback, though. Nightmare reference! That's gotta be a Nightmare reference to a famous Doctor Strange villain. Which, that's the thing, is that I wouldn't be surprised if that was a genuine reference to Nightmare, which is rumored to be the villain in Multiverse of Madness, and it's been said Loki is going to lead into that and tie into that as well. That's hilarious considering how, like, dangerous Loki seems. So whoever the heck this guy's chasing is, like, not to be trounced with. Trounced? Messed with? What does trounce mean? I don't know. Hey, the iconic shot from the Avengers. No way! Oh my god, is this what I... He's D.B. Cooper! He's D.B. Cooper! Bourbon and soda, I remember that from BuzzFeed Unsolved. It says, I have a bomb. If you don't know who that is, D.B. Cooper was a famous thief who basically got onto a plane, said he had a bomb, then said, basically, give me a whole sack of money or, you know, stuff goes sideways. The iconic glasses and suit. And then he gets the sack of money, and famously, he jumps out of the plane and was never seen again. It's one of the greatest mysteries of all time. Except some of the money was found in the Washougal River and what nearby. But ever since then, nobody's ever found him. So it's interesting that he was the guy who was D.B. Cooper, because they showed this off in the trailer, and I was like, he's D.B. Cooper. And he gets... Yep. Exactly! Is he gonna show him when he gets killed? You know that pains him so much seeing his mom. Brutal. Just absolutely brutal. This is getting really intense! So essentially, Loki was always supposed to be evil. He was always supposed to be the fall guy, you know, to get the crap knocked out of him so other people could be lauded and praised and worshipped, while he was the guy who had, you know, words cast at him. This is brutal, man. This is more brutal than I thought this show would be. He doesn't know what a fish is. So you can tell that, yeah, Loki does feel some... We're gonna fight side by side forever. At the end of the day, you're you and I'm me. Oh, God. That was freaking brutal. Oh my God. Yeah, he's panicking. Oh no. You go. Oh my gosh. Dude, this show is metal. Is he just gonna be like, boop, 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 boop? Oh, that is so... What? It's him? Oh my God. He's killing? How does that... That doesn't make sense, though. Oh my God. Oh my God. Don't end. Ah, come on. I want more. Alrighty. So, that was the first episode of Loki. And, not gonna lie, that was actually really, really good. Like, this was one of the series that I was most excited for. You know, the one I've said multiple times was Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which I promise I'll be finishing. Don't worry about it. But this was up there. Like, I thought this one was one of the most interesting ones, like, concept-wise. Like, basically, Loki screws up the timeline, and he works with the Time Variance Authority to basically go through time and basically fix everything. So it's really, really interesting. So first of all, let's just, I love the references. I loved them opening with, Avengers Endgame, you know, like, because it seemed like they showed a lot of footage from that film, but it also looked like it is freezing right now. It's freezing in my home because we have the AC on, but it's hot outside because it's like June in Kansas. So, yeah, it was really interesting. Like, I like that they showed more footage of it, but it also seemed like they showed some new stuff. I don't know. It could be like they could have just had some extra scenes they didn't put in the film and whatnot that they had lying around, so they could have. But I mean, if they got Chris Evans to come back and film that one little scene, that would have been awesome. They could have, I mean, this has probably been in development for years. Well, yeah, it has. So they could have probably filmed this, you know, when they were, like, filming Endgame. They were like, hey, Chris, we kind of got one other scene for something else to do. Could you film this? He's like, yeah, sure. Because he's Captain America. He's Chris Evans. He's the greatest man in the world. I love that guy. If I could, I'm not kidding, if I could get him to sign that shield, shake his hand, you know, give the guy a hug and, get a picture with the guy. I could die happy. He's a cool dude. He's one of my favorite actors. But I love that they brought that back. I love the references, like the whole like Iron Man opening kind of thing. One of the things that I have a question about is, this is what I think it is. It's pretty messed up. But, so it's like, it seems like whenever these time variance authority people, they go, like, to the timeline thingy, it's like, oh, this place is screwed up, let's investigate this place. Like, at the beginning, they showed up, like, that's another thing I thought it was hilarious and really interesting, was, like, how they immediately went into that. Like, as soon as Loki popped up and screwed up the timeline, they were there, like, in 30 seconds. That's really impressive timing, pun intended. But no, that's actually a really, really interesting thing, is that, they're kind of, like, just solving these time crimes and things and whatnot. But one of the things I have a question about is, like, the weird, like, grenade-looking things. Like, when they're done investigating, they put one of the grenades on the ground and press it. So it's like, when they shoot, like, pull the pin or activate one of those things, does that mean they, like, kill off that entire universe? You know what I mean? Like, it's, like, basically, like, reset or whatever. Like, does that mean, like, they just activate one of those things, leave, and that entire, like, universe, that moment in time is completely just wiped from existence? If so, that is really messed up. I don't know if that's true, but, like, if that's really how it goes down, that is messed up. That is really messed up. I love the color palette of the show. The kind of the warm, oranges and yellows and the browns and the khaki and beige. Like, I love the color palette, and I also love the kind of the green and whatnot. I really like that. I think that's a good, beautiful looking color palette. It's so beautifully shot, by the way. I don't know who's like the cinematographer and director on this. I'll have to check it, but they did very, very good. And whatnot. So it looks absolutely beautiful. I also love like the design of like the TVA. How it's kind of almost like this sort of like 1970s feel to it, Which is interesting because it seems like what they're kind of going for is a bit like buddy cop type stuff, which would make sense because, buddy cop films were very prevalent in the 70s and 80s. So I really like the whole feel it has. I love the little, like, animations, like the old-timey, like, 1900s animations. It's very, like, Fallout-esque. I'm pretty sure Tara Strong was narrating. She does, so much voice acting. I think she does Timmy Turner from Fairly Odd Parents, and she's done Harley Quinn multiple times in different things, if I remember correctly. I'm pretty sure that was her. So it was nice seeing her cameo in this. Owen Wilson, great. I love him. He just fits perfectly into it. Wow. If he does not say wow at least one time, I'm done. He's got to do it, man. He's got to do it. That's what everybody wants. Everybody's dying to hear him say, wow. Everybody's gonna lose their minds when that happens. But no, it was really cool seeing him. I really liked seeing him. I really liked how Loki was portrayed in this. How it was kind of, the idea is like, basically it's like you really do feel bad for him, because like when he laid it out, it was like essentially what he had said was like, this is the way it's going to be. So essentially what he had said was like, you were always destined to be evil. Like, he basically flat out said, like, you were always you were required. Your existence was made to be a villain, Like, his idea was like, you have to be a villain. There is no conceivable way where you aren't, Because, sorry, squeaky chair. But no, it's like, he basically flat out said, like, yeah, you were basically, you were the punching bag, essentially, of the Avengers. Like, you were the guy who had to take the fall, who had to get the crap knocked out of him, to be insulted, treated like... To be fair, he was a villain and he did bad stuff, but, you know, what they portrayed was basically like he was always destined to do that. Like, he had to do it. Even if he didn't want to, that's just how it's supposed to be. Which is really messed up and hypocritical on their part, because they're essentially like saying like, yeah, even if you want to be a better person, it's like you're probably not going to get that opportunity, you know? Even though Mobius is basically Owen Wilson's character, it's like, I don't think you're totally like that. I don't think you have to be a villain. So he kind of implied like, maybe I can offer you something else. Like, because he flat out said like, Loki came to kind of the depressing and horrifying realization that like, there is no way he's going back to his timeline. Which, that is really one of the scariest things about, like, all of this. Is, like, when you think, like, if time travel was real, you know that would be the most horrifying thing. Because, like, if you would go back in time at any point, you would never be able to come back to your reality. You know, come back to your family, like, the normal way, how it's been, like me right now. I would never get back to this life, you know? So it's a really messed up, like, scary prospect that, like, yeah, he just basically screwed his life up. So, it's rough. It's rough, man. This was a lot darker than I thought it would be, especially, like, where he goes through and sees his whole life and stuff. He sees his mom die, his dad die, you know, his falling out with his brother, and then eventually his death. And he's like even he gets, like, rocked by that. Like, you know, it's like, this series it seems like it really is, like, Loki's, like, just, like, rehabilitation of himself, if that makes sense. Where he, like, just has to go, like, through the stages of all of it, you know? You know, his redemption of sorts. You know, he's like, well, I can't bring you back to your timeline, but, like, maybe I can offer you something else. You know, so I have a feeling that, you know, because it's a very obvious, like, thing they're setting up is, I can't remember, was it Infinity War where he was like, I assure you, brother, the sun will shine on us again. They're setting that up at some point. So I feel that this version of Loki somehow might be able to get back to Thor and whatnot. Maybe. Who knows? But it really is like a horrifying realization. Like, yeah, Loki's kind of a bad dude, but, like, you also really feel bad for the guy. Because he basically, like the dude said, it was like, yeah, you are just destined to be a piece of shit. You know, it's like you don't have the opportunity to change your life and do what you want to do and be who you want to be. Like, you can't become a better person, basically, he said. It's like you were always destined to be a bad guy, to basically prop up the Avengers and all these other great people and whatnot. I really need a haircut or something. You know, it really is like a really scary, like, miserable, sad realization for him. But we're off to, you know, another thing. I love them showing, like, the flashback of him being D.B. Cooper. Because I'm a huge, like, BuzzFeed Unsolved fan, and that was one of their best episodes they covered, was the, yeah, I feel like Kevin Feige was like, write that down. I want all of you to watch that episode of BuzzFeed Unsolved. Write it down. Bourbon and soda. The note. Literally everything. You know, it was hilarious, man. It was a really cool scene seeing that. So it's really interesting because that was never hinted at in the past. But it seemed like from what he had said is that Loki alluded to that Thor, he had lost a bet to Thor, and I guess Thor had betted him to, like, dude, go steal a bunch of money or something, which is really messed up because, like, if Thor is like, he's like, yeah, go do that thing, it's like, that's not very heroish of you, you know? So maybe it's like old Thor back when he was a jerk, and like Thor 1 before Thor 1, maybe, so. That's interesting, though. Yeah, that would make sense, because that happened in, like, the 1970s. And Thor happened in, like, 2011 or whatever. Early 2010s. So, yeah, that would make sense. That would be back when Thor was kind of a jerk. And whatnot. But, another thing, the idea of, like, this sort of, like, time, like, murder, homicide case is really interesting. That, Owen Wilson is trying to, like, who the heck did this? And that one kid in, I think it was France, was basically like, the devil basically did this, because he pointed to the stained glass window and it was like the devil, which is like, I don't know if that's a sly reference to Mephisto, because Mephisto famously, is a famous character in the comics. He's basically Marvel's version of Satan, essentially. Hail Satan! Joking, I have to make that reference. But no, basically, the idea is like, he's Satan, essentially. He's Satan and evil. And it's been kind of rumored with stuff like WandaVision and other things that maybe he's got some kind of presence in this universe, so who knows? That could be, but he basically said the devil. And something I just realized is, like, it makes sense that later we get the bombshell that the guy who Mobius is hunting is actually Loki. And Loki's like, what? That shocked me. I did not expect that. Because I was like, I know, like, he's a bad guy, but, like, what the heck happened to that dude? Like, I know he did a lot of bad stuff, but, like, I feel like he's not, like, that, like, dark and gritty that he would just be murdering and stabbing people, lighting them on fire throughout time. Like, that's a really weird... Like, I know Loki's a bad guy and he's done bad stuff, and he said he doesn't like killing, so it's like, yeah, like, how does that... That doesn't really make sense to me. Like, maybe somehow, when Loki messed up the timeline, he got an alternate version of him that became, like, pure evil, But that doesn't really make sense, because it's like, time... They said time works differently. So time's all weird and wonky, but it's really interesting. It's like, so he's the guy who's doing it? Which kind of, when you think about it, when you hear the kid, what he said, he was like, he pointed to the devil, and obviously, like, he would have no idea, like, basically this kid, when he went back in time to that scene, it took place in, like, 1548, So this kid has, like, no idea what the heck is going on. This is back in the day when, they were burning people at the stake, torture, the Dark Ages, the plague. Back when stuff was real rocky and not fun. But it makes sense, because he's like, it was the devil, and Loki obviously famously has his iconic helmet with, the horns and whatnot. So this kid wouldn't really... He wouldn't really be able to differentiate, like, oh, that's not actually Satan, that's just Loki. So he wouldn't know. But still, it just, I don't know, the idea that, like, oh, it's you, doesn't really make sense to me. I don't know why. I'll probably have to watch the rest of the episodes, obviously. They'll further it out. But to me, that just, like, even though, yeah, he's a bad guy, it just doesn't seem like him. So my theory is that, what if it's like Mephisto basically framing Loki? Or someone framing Loki? Because when you think about it, if you were to frame anybody throughout of all time, Loki would be the guy. Because he's always known, God of mischief, he's screwing stuff up, turning stuff crazy. So it's like, that does make sense, So it's like, my theory is that it's not actually him. Someone is framing Loki and masquerading as Loki. Because they clearly were like, we're saving, the identity of said character for later. Because it's like, oh, we're hunting you, but still, it's like they showed the character, but they didn't show his or her face. So I just thought of it. If I remember correctly, back when the series was being filmed and worked on, it was rumored that Lady Loki was going to appear in some form. And I remember seeing behind-the-scenes pictures that some people had gotten of, I don't know the actress, but a woman who had basically been playing Lady Loki. So maybe it's like, yeah, it's like Loki, it's sort of Loki. It's not like Tom Hiddleston Loki. It's this weird alternate more murderous version of him, Lady Loki, which would be really interesting. Like Loki basically out-tricking himself, which would make sense because it's like, yeah, it's like we need you to hunt down this other version of Loki. It would kind of make sense, you know? So I would assume that this would probably be Lady Loki or some alternate version of Loki. So that's going to be interesting. And overall, you know, summary of the episode, I thought it was quite good. I really did. It's got it really does feel very different, you know. Like one of the criticisms of the MCU is that like a lot of it, or at least some of it, feels very generic and samey and whatnot. And to be fair, that is true to an extent. But I think for the most part in recent years, Marvel has really kind of changed things up. You know, try to keep things fresh. Thor Ragnarok, Infinity War, you know, Black Panther, Winter Soldier, you know, Ant-Man, the first one, WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. You know, it seems like they are trying new and different things and trying to keep things interesting. And I felt that this did feel very unique and fresh and just kind of different. It feels like the MCU, but it also feels very wildly different. You know, like it really does feel more like in the vein of like WandaVision being this really unconventional, different type thing. And they said that, Kevin Feige basically said that Loki is going to have the most effect on the MCU out of all of the MCU shows that are coming out. So this is going to be interesting because I think if I remember, like they said, like this would tie into Madness in the Multiverse. So maybe, you know, a combination of Wanda, you know, reading the Darkhold and her creating Westview and all that stuff, and a combination of, you know, Loki and all of his timey-wimey, goofy stuff kind of screws up reality and stuff. And it seemed like there was a sly reference to Nightmare, because they said that like I think Loki had said like this is a nightmare or whatever and whatnot, and Mobius was like, oh no, Nightmare Division, that's a different thing. So that seems like a pretty sly reference at, because you know famously if there's anything in the MCU, most of the time it's done by intention. So it seems like that's probably a reference to Nightmare. So maybe like Nightmare can factor into this a bit too. So that would be kind of interesting. But yeah, I'm excited. Overall, I love the episode. I like this show so far. It was interesting. It was funny, exciting, and surprisingly heartbreaking. Like, you know, it's like they really did a very good job at making you feel sympathetic to Loki. You know, like we've already seen like him and his journey throughout the MCU so far, but this one really was like a gut punch of like him really realizing like this isn't a joke. Like this is a big deal. I am not really that great of a person. I don't really like doing this. It's like I'm essentially being forced to do this. And Mobius is like, it may seem like that, but like maybe there's some kind of bit of redemption, or I can help you out in some other way, you know. So overall, I liked it. I'm excited, and I can't wait to see more of it. Don't worry, I will do Falcon and the Winter Soldier soon. Sometime, you know, I'll try and do it sometime this weekend with the next week. I'll burn through both of the last two episodes, finish that off, and what I'm planning on doing is finishing those episodes off before the next episode of Loki next week, basically. So that is the plan. I'm excited. I love this, and, you know, I hope you all enjoy this. So I would love to keep doing reactions. If this keeps doing well, I'll keep doing it. So Take care. See ya.